Good evening. The May 10th, 2021 virtual meeting of the Anne Arundel County Council is now in session. The purpose of this meeting is to hear testimony on the proposed FY22 County General and Board of Education budget. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
We're going to start with go in order of district. Miss Lacey.
Present.
Miss Pickard.
Present.
Mr. Volke.
Present.
Mr. Prusky.
Here.
Miss Fiedler.
Present.
Miss Rodvian.
Present.
Miss Hare.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have the full council in attendance.
Thank you. Please pause for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ms. Fiedler.
As we gather here today as members of the County Council, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and county and our community. Keeping in mind always the commitments we have made to those we represent, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things which fulfill those commitments. And let us continue to strive to hear the voices of those who have entrusted us. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the Open Meetings Act statement.
The county attorney has asked me to read the following statement. The Maryland Open Meetings Act is a state law that requires public meetings to be open to the public and to be held in places reasonably accessible to individuals who would like to attend these meetings. The virtual format of this meeting of the County Council is due to the COVID-19 pandemic and is necessary in light of the health risks associated with public gatherings. While a virtual meeting of this type was not envisioned by the Open Meetings Act, steps have been taken to ensure that this virtual meeting includes alternate accessibility features that the Open Meetings Act Compliance Board and the courts have reviewed and approved, such as having a call-in phone number that allows anyone with a telephone to call and listen to the meeting, and broadcasting the meeting with video and audio on cable TV and the web. The public access provided by this technology makes this virtual meeting reasonably accessible to the public as required by the Open Meetings Act. This technology also satisfies our rules of procedure that apply to meetings, and they do not need to be waived in order for this virtual meeting to be held.
Thank you. Is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, may I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolution, amendment to a bill or resolution, or minutes constitutes the reading of the whole?
So moved, Allison Pickard.
Second, Councilman Prusky.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of the budget bills.
Bill number 3221, an ordinance concerning annual budget and appropriation ordinance of Anne Arundel County. Bill number 3321, an ordinance concerning tax levies, special community benefit districts, shore erosion control districts, and waterways improvement districts. Bill number 3421, an ordinance concerning tax levies, Arundel Gateway Special Taxing District. Bill number 3521, an ordinance concerning tax levies, Arundel Mills Special Taxing District. Bill number 3621, an ordinance concerning tax levies, Dorchester Special Taxing District. Bill number 3721, an ordinance concerning tax levies, Farmington Village Special Taxing District. Bill number 3821, an ordinance concerning tax levies, National Business Park Special Taxing District. Bill number 3921, an ordinance concerning tax levies, National Business Park North Special Taxing District. Bill number 4021, an ordinance concerning tax levies, Two River Special Taxing District. Bill number 4121, an ordinance concerning tax levies, Village South at Wall Chapel Special Taxing District. Bill number 4221, an ordinance concerning finance, taxation, and budget, Arts Council of Anne Arundel County Special Revenue Fund, Annapolis and Anne Arundel County Conference and Visitors Bureau Special Revenue Fund. Bill number 4321, an ordinance concerning public works, solid waste collection, solid waste service charge, solid waste landfill, and facility delivery fees. Bill number 4421, an ordinance concerning property tax and semi-annual payment service charge.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Now you can catch your breath. I will be calling on other people. First, we will have about 6 people speaking, giving presentations. They represent various groups in the county, and then we will go to the individuals who have signed up to speak. The first person to make a brief statement on the budget is Chris Trumbauer, Budget Officer for Anne Arundel County. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the County Council. For the record, I am Chris Trumbauer, Budget Officer for Anne Arundel County. Thank you for the opportunity to give a brief overview of County Executive Stuart Pittman's proposed budget for fiscal year 2022. The proposed budget before you represents a welcome departure from last year when the county reduced revenue estimates and scaled back critical programs and initiatives in order to account for the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Fortunately, last year's conservative budgeting maneuvers have positioned the county very well as we emerge from the COVID economy. Therefore, County Executive Pittman has characterized this budget as getting back on track. Due largely to the federal assistance bills that buoyed the national economy and our strong local employment base, the county's local income tax revenue exceeded FY21 budget estimates by $41 million. Also, a surprisingly robust real estate market resulted in higher than anticipated recordation and transfer tax revenue, which came in $25 million higher than budgeted. Combined with cost savings across county government, this results in a healthy county fund balance of more than $114 million. This year's total general fund budget is $1,876,518,000, an increase of $157.3 million or 9.1% from the adopted budget for fiscal year 2021. However, it is important to keep in mind that the $14.2 million of this increase is the fund balance mentioned before. Excluding that fund balance nets an increase of $80.8 million or 4.8% in recurring revenue year over year. Comparing the FY22 budget to the revised FY21 budget estimates reduces the year over year increase in recurring funding to $32.9 million or 1.9%. The proposed budget keeps local income tax rates unchanged at 2.81%, the 4th lowest rate in Maryland in fiscal year 21. The proposed budget also adheres to the county's property tax revenue cap, and the property tax rate declines slightly to 93.3 cents per $100 of assessed value, the 7th lowest rate in Maryland. The fiscal year 22 budget makes several investments to secure long-term fiscal stability. The proposed budget includes an $11 million contribution to the Revenue Reserve Fund, also known as the Rainy Day Fund. This will result in an estimated balance of $95.7 million at the end of fiscal year 22. The budget also fully funds the annual contribution to our other post-employment benefits fund, known as the OPEB fund, and makes an additional one-time payment of $20 million. This is akin to paying down the principal of your mortgage and will reduce our future required annual payments. The budget reduces the county's structural deficit from $24.7 million to $19.9 million, and the county executive is committed to continuing to reduce it over the coming years. Finally, the county lowered our estimate of what our pension investments will earn in the future from 7.45% to 7.0%. This will result in a larger annual contribution and less dependence on the whims of the stock market, meaning that county employees and retirees can count on their future benefits, which they earn during their employment, being there when they need it. The proposed budget includes $784 million for the Board of Education, a $34.5 million increase from last year, and $15.7 million more than the state required maintenance of effort level. Adding in debt service, school health, and school safety results in total school funding of $896 million, or 50.8% of the county operating budget. This year, the budget prioritizes the compensation package for our educators with a 1% cost of living increase and a step increase. County Executive Pittman's budget also makes an additional $8 million investment in catch-up steps for those Board of Education employees who did not receive their contractual steps in prior years. For those eligible, this comes in the form of one full backstep and a second mid-year backstep. In addition, the proposed budget funds a total of 53 new school positions, 15 positions for special education and school counseling, 6 for English language acquisition, 2.5 for the new EEE program in the Glen Burnie cluster, an additional teacher for Cat North, and 26.4 new teacher positions to begin the 11th grade at Crofton High School. Anne Arundel Community College, recently ranked #1 in the nation by Forbes magazine, will receive $46.4 million in county funding, an increase of $1 million. This will allow them to keep tuition rates unchanged this year. The library system will receive $24.9 million of general fund support, an increase of $315,000 compared to last year. For public safety and our first responders, the proposed budget of $379.1 million adds 6 new positions in the police department and 2 each in our fire and sheriff departments. The budget includes continued funding to begin the body-worn camera program and increases the capacity of our crisis intervention teams. The proposed budget uses $3.8 million of fund balance for a one-time boost to the fire apparatus budget, allowing the fire department to purchase much needed replacement tanker trucks, ambulances, and other vital equipment needs. Other notable new initiatives in the budget include 3 new planners for the Office of Planning and Zoning to staff up the office as it prepares to implement Plan 2040 and begin the region plans. 3 new positions are also proposed to create a stormwater strike team in the Office of Inspections and Permits. And the budget adds a new park ranger for Lake Waterford and 2 new part-time rangers to oversee and enhance the county's growing natural trails network. For the county enterprise funds, water and wastewater utility fees remain unchanged, as does the county's stormwater fee. The proposed budget includes an increase in the annual solid waste fee from $298 to $341, which is about $3.50 per month. This is the first rate increase since 2013. With respect to the fiscal year 22 capital budget, the $375.8 million of expenditures includes $200 million for Board of Education projects, which is 53.2% of the total capital budget. Specific projects included in this year's capital budget for the Board of Education are $4.8 million for Old Mill Middle School South, $78.8 million for Old Mill West High School, $23.7 million for Quarterfield Elementary, $20.2 million for Hillsmere Elementary, $29.9 million for Rippling Woods Elementary, and $9.6 million for West County Elementary. Additionally, the proposed budget includes $2.3 million for athletic stadium improvements, $20.6 million for building system and maintenance backlog projects, $4.2 million for all-day kindergarten and pre-K classroom space, $22.0 million for roof replacement, and $300,000 for school playgrounds. Notable new county projects in the county executive's proposed capital budget include $3.3 million for Arnold Senior Center renovation and expansion, $250,000 to establish a forest conservation mitigation fund, $500,000 to begin a new fire station in Jessup, $4.5 million to plan and acquire land for a new fire training academy, $376,000 to begin the new Odenton Library Community Park, $2.5 million for the Jug Bay Environmental Education Center, and $1.2 million to begin the Quiet Waters Park rehabilitation. The budget also includes $8.2 million for continued progress on the WBNA, South Shore, and Broadneck trails, and $34.8 million of new funding for the West County Swim Center beginning in fiscal year 24. In closing, I thank you for this opportunity to present this overview tonight. The county executive and the entire budget team look forward to working with the county council and the auditor as we work to strike a budget to meet the priority needs of our county residents. Copies of the entire budget, including budget highlights, are available on the budget office website, www.aacounty.org. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Trumbauer. Next, we have Ms. Melissa Ellis, President, Board of Education of Anne Arundel County.
Chairman Lacey, Vice Chairman Rodvian, and members of the council, good evening. Melissa Ellis, Board of Education of Anne Arundel County President. I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of the board and the needs of our school system. The last couple of years, the budget priorities of the board have been the following. Bring equity to our staff by making up for missed steps that have caused a pay gap for half of our workforce. Do more to support the mental health of our students by bringing in more school counselors and mental health professionals in order to bring the workload of these key positions to a more manageable level, and to fund more positions in special education and English language acquisition to keep up with the growing need to support these students. Today, our priorities remain the same, but with a greater urgency. The lasting impact of closing schools during the pandemic means that many students are suffering from the disconnection from their peers and their teachers, from the stress of online learning, and from the stress of the virus itself. As we prepare to bring our students back to their buildings full time in the fall, we anticipate the workload of our student support services staff will be even greater as students try to catch up academically, adjust to the social environment, and try to find their new normal. Students needing special services like special education and our English language learners will require extra attention in order to prevent long-term losses in academic advancement. To be honest, a year ago, none of us realistically thought we would be in a place to now consider addressing the back steps we as a county have committed to fixing. When everything shut down, the economic outlook was grim. While I believe strongly that we owe our county residents a fiscally responsible budget, we may never be in a place again where we can make our staff whole and restore morale in a time when it is so badly needed. With the passing of the blueprint for Maryland's future budgets will be much more restricted to meeting mandates imposed by the legislation. We simply cannot perpetuate an environment indefinitely in which teachers work day in and day out with our students at a pay rate which is lower than their equally or less experienced peers. These professionals are critical to the well-being and success of our students, and they need to know that our county values their contributions. In every instance where an experienced teacher leaves our school system to work in a surrounding county, and they are replaced by a less experienced teacher, we are doing a disservice to our students. This does not mean that our new teachers are not capable and valuable additions to their schools, but a healthy school has a good balance of experienced teachers who, in addition to developing sound and proven practices in the classroom, have forged good relationships with their students, their colleagues, and administration, and therefore can support their less experienced peers as they develop those important relationships and skills. We need our experienced teachers. Finally, I ask that you please keep our capital projects moving forward. It is critical that we open an elementary school in West County on schedule to keep up with extreme growth in the area and prevent our youngest students from trying to learn in overcrowded classrooms. And as we prepare to fill our school buildings again, it is important to remember that school security has been a priority for Anne Arundel County, and we must complete the important upgrades to enhance the safety of our buildings. Parents are asking for it, and understandably so. I hope this helps as you consider the county executive's budget and what will really make an impact for our students. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you this evening. We welcome the opportunity to work together to move our school system forward as we begin to look beyond this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Thank you for being with us. Our next speaker is Mr. Russell Leone, President, Teachers Association of Anne Arundel County, or TAC.
Good evening. Good evening, council members. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak this evening. My name is Russell Leone, and I'm an elementary school teacher currently serving as the president of the Teachers Association of Anne Arundel County, or TAC. We represent over 6,400 Unit 1 educators in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. And these educators have shown their incredible resilience and creativity over this past year to serve our students during this pandemic. So I start by acknowledging the open and honest exchanges with the county executives, budget officers over the past few months, and we offer our sincere appreciation for all that we have accomplished together so far. I also want to thank the council and County Executive Pittman for their commitment over the last 3 years to resolving the experience credit issues for our educators. This has been a top priority for our members, and we appreciate all that you have done so far to address their budget concerns. Now, we pressed hard this year to try and resolve the experience credit issue because, as the pandemic has taught us, these challenges are unpredictable, and with the directives coming from the blueprint next year, we don't know what FY23 holds. We're optimistic about the funding and resources from the state and federal government directed broadly at education. And we believe this funding will help us create a more equitable and just education system. And we look forward to building that future with you. And while we were hopeful that the county executive would have included a little more in this year's budget request, we are extremely happy with the broad framework County Executive Pittman has proposed. TAC is asking this council to consider 2 main areas in this budget that we believe are the creative solutions needed to address the problem that have impacted our salaries for a decade. First, we encourage the County Council and the Board of Education to allow for real bargaining and flexibility about how we apply the money offered in this budget. TAC has a vision of pairing that $5.5 million proposed as the 1% COLA with the funding allocated for back steps to resolve this experience and credit imbalance this year. And with this budget proposal, this issue can be resolved right now. Now, over half of the members, 3,401 Unit 1 educators, are being paid at a salary unequal to their credited years of experience. For example, Kristen is a teacher at Glen Burnie High School. She has over 15 years of experience and started with AACPS 8 years ago. She's a dedicated educator who works and lives in District 2. And when she came to the county, she was informed that she would have to lose 3 steps to be fair to fellow educators, almost swaying her decision on whether to work in this county. But she is now on step 11, losing $9,000 a year. And she says, I've been a science lead, an e-coach, and I serve on the leadership committee at my school. I feel I do right for the county. Now, we have taken steps towards resolving this issue and changing the personal and professional lives for many of our educators like Kristen. And we are thankful that this budget proposes the amount of money that it would take to make all of these educators whole. Given the uncertainty of the coming years, we don't want to risk not doing the best we can for all educators as quickly as possible. Now, second, we look to receive the final accounting of the FY21 budget cycle. And we are hopeful that the county and the Board of Education will again see the surpluses in the instructional salary budget track. Our hope is that you will be open to discussing the importance of using that funding for what it is really intended, salaries. And we look forward to being included in any conversations around how the surplus can be used. And we are glad that this budget attempts to address the fact that our educators are an essential part of our community and should be shown the respect and dignity of fair pay. It's our goal every year, and especially this year, to remove the distraction of inequitable pay so that our educators can fully focus on the most important task of offering our students the world-class education they deserve. Now, it's been a difficult year for all of us, and we face challenges that will continue to impact each of us for the rest of our lives. But our 2 priorities, working to fix the experience credit issue as quickly as possible, and ensuring continued dialogue about the use of surplus funding, will go a long way to doing right by those who keep our students safe this year. Thank you for showing educators that their time and their service to our students and their families deserves recognition. We appreciate this opportunity, and hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leone. Have a good evening. Our next presenter is Ms. Helen Wilkinson, President of the Secretaries and Assistants Association of Anne Arundel County, or SAAC. Good evening. You're muted, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I thought I unmuted. Good evening.
We can hear you now. Thank you. Go
Hear
ahead.
now, loud and clear. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah Lacy, Chairman, Lisa Bodden, Vice Chairman, and members of the Anne Arundel County Council. I'm Helen Wilkinson, President of the Secretaries and Assistants Association of Anne Arundel County, Technology Support Technician. Our membership is comprised mostly of teacher assistants, school-based and non-school-based secretaries, computer technicians, media technicians, and variety of other Unit 4 employees. We are a proud and dedicated group of AACPS employees who enjoy our work and are proud of the contributions we make to ensure that instruction is delivered to the children of Anne Arundel County. We understand the new era we are living in. Once COVID-19 came into our lives and workplaces, our Unit 4 employees continued to work hard to ensure the bills were being paid, payroll was met, registering of students for school continued, ordering and receiving of necessary supplies to clean buildings, distributing and repairing Chromebooks and laptops for teachers and staff, continue to be virtual and hybrid substitute teaching, assisting with the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine, and many other minute or important jobs and tasks. All SAAC members and Unit 4 employees contribute in ways that are not so visible at times. This description would take longer than we have tonight. Many have worked beyond their contractual hours without asking for compensation, so that they can be viewed by principals and the immediate supervisors as team players. Several members were, while performing the duties previously mentioned, were exposed and contracted COVID-19. All of them following the rules regarding quarantine and then returned to their duty stations posts to continue carrying out their responsibilities so that AACPS can be viewed as carrying out its mission of educating the children of Anne Arundel County. We ask for your support of the budget recommended by our County Executive, Stuart Pittman. This budget recommendation includes modest cost of living increase and step increase, along with makeup steps from previous years that will assist employees with keeping up with rapidly rising prices that are occurring in our cities and counties. Funding this request is extremely important as we move forward in a post-COVID-19 environment. Much has been lost and many struggles are still occurring. This good faith effort gives hope to our Unit 4 members and lets them know that the elected officials care and support the work that they do. We hope that you, the County Council, see this the same way in which we do. Again, I ask that you support the budget recommendation of our County Executive, and I thank you for your time and support now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkerson. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Have a good day.
Good night. Now we have Ms. Edie Picken, President, Association of Educational Leaders. Good evening.
Good evening. My name again is Edie Picken, and I'm currently president of AEL, which represents all Unit 2 employees. With respect to the superintendent's proposed budget, AEL can and will support a budget that provides for increased spending that enhances the education of our students. Just as important, it must embrace and recognize the value of employees. As we know, the most significant cost in the educational budget is employee compensation. It is the allocation of the request and the equitable distribution of those funds that are of equal, if not most important. With the passing of or accepting of any budget request, it is critical to view the compensation portion in context. I'm referencing the relationship of the compensation between the various groups of employees. The important question here is, does the compensation being offered take into consideration the demands of the job and the supervision that is required? Is there a proper and fair differential between those that are supervised and those that are providing the supervision? I am referring to school-based personnel and the different responsibilities of those at the schoolhouse. With respect to Unit 2 compensation, we are currently engaged in the negotiations process, and as usual, compensation continues to be a formative topic. As a result, AEL is unable to specifically address salary increases this evening. Those discussions will continue at the negotiating table. I must add, I use the term negotiations loosely here. What is important to note, the allocation of pay between the different employee units contemplates and produces a pay differential. Over the last several years, more importantly, the last 3 more specifically, a continued erosion in the differential for Unit 2 employees has occurred at rates, as it relates to Units 5 and 6. This issue needs to be assessed and addressed. Unit 2 consists of 342 employees, predominantly school-based administrators with a few positions at the board. Between the 2018-2019 year and the current 2021, overall Unit 2 received approximately a 6% salary increase. On the other hand, Unit 5, consisting of 440 employees overall, received approximately between 10% and 14% increases in salary, with 49 of those employees receiving a 20% or greater increase in salary, resulting in some instances of job title reclassification and or creation of new positions. This equates to those individuals potentially receiving anywhere between $7,000 and $10,000 or greater in pay increases. Unit 6, consisting of 55 employees overall, in this same time period, received anywhere between 15% and 18%, with approximately 6 members receiving between 18 and 20% increases in salary, resulting in similar or greater pay increases. I urge you to look closely at this budget item category and to compare it to the percentage of actual pay increase paid to all other representative employee groups. The fact that a smaller number of employees, we are talking more specifically about Unit 6, that's the Superintendent's Board-based upper echelon, as noted, received the largest aggregate amount. The smallest portion of the employee compensation package being provided does not tell the whole story. Clearly, the amount offered to each individual in Unit 6 in real dollars far exceeds any amount offered in real dollars to any Unit 2 employee. It continues to erode the differential and continues to unfairly compensate one group of already highly paid personnel at the expense of another. The amounts mentioned above were submitted as proof of these excesses in salary advances for Units 6 and 5 as compared to Unit 2 to the board's internal auditor at his request. It is clear that this path of excessive compensation at the expense of Unit 2 and other employee groups is continuing. The board's current proposal shared with AEL as it relates to funding is appreciated, but paying those for what was agreed to and underfunded in the past is not a pay raise, particularly regarding the ongoing increases in workload. Where is the compensation for that? A budget that includes compensation placeholders that are prepared and submitted for approval before negotiations are concluded is not a negotiated budget. It is not a product of any negotiating process that requires by law good faith bargaining. Waiting on the superintendent's proposed budget with its placeholding line item is an unacceptable mechanism to subvert the bargaining process. Bargaining typically does not begin, let alone resolve itself in any tentative agreement until the Board of Education comes to the table to discuss the matter after the superintendent's budget has been submitted. Result of this process, the superintendent's placeholding item is the Board of Education's first and best offer. No true good faith bargaining occurs. It pretends to be that, but it only shows as a calendar item to say negotiating occurred when no negotiating occurred at all. At the table, we are told what to accept and are treated with disrespect in a condescending manner as though we should be grateful for what we were offered. In the review of salary differentials, it will be important to identify growth, changes in position titles, and the creation of new positions, allowing for increases in salary for Units 5 and 6. Units 1 and 2 are not able to have title reclassifications, so there is no resulting potential for increased compensation. Aside from compensation, Unit 6 employees receive in large part the same benefits that Unit 2 receives under the negotiated agreement. So in closing, a fully funded budget is essential for the maintenance of a first-class school system, a budget which recognizes the hard work and dedication of its employees as a justified reward for the sacrifices which are made daily. Increased compensation is welcomed and deserved. Compensation should be re-examined, and those that are involved in the daily and direct delivery of education support of and to the students at the school level should be given a higher and well-deserved priority. I want to thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak with you this evening again, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Picken. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Skip Ald, CEO of Anne Arundel County Public Libraries. Good evening, Skip.
Hello, Chair Lacey, Vice Chair Rodby, councilpersons Fiedler, Hare, Pickard, Pruski, and Volke, and all residents of Anne Arundel County. I do want to thank you all for the strong support of libraries that you've given us the past 2 years. From funding of discoveries to increasing the materials budget to bringing our Glen Burnie and Millersville libraries into the capital program, you have been a tremendously important partner as we work to improve our library system. You're moving us toward completing the early years of a library renaissance that began 7 or 8 years ago and that's taking root with the current council and administration. So thank you for enabling the rebirth of libraries and library services, programs, and resources throughout the county. This is the 100th year of service to the people of our county. I have some library cards that some of you and some of the audience may have used over the years. We've got a variety that we have had. Some of you use the keychain kinds of cards, and this is the newest card, which is our it's a photo of the Michael Bush Library. We have 16 libraries, 400 staff, and a great collection of print, audiovisual, and digital resources. And we provide a robust array of services and programs. Over this past year, we reinvented our public library several times. Many of our new ways of doing business will carry forward forever, just as we anticipate bringing back services that we had to put on hiatus this past year. We switched to online service on March 13th last year, purchasing lots more ebooks and doing virtual story times and other virtual programs the very next week. I'm extremely proud of our library system and our staff because we continued to provide service throughout the pandemic. By June 1st, we brought all staff back to the buildings. We created and opened curbside service starting on June 8th, and we have alternated between in-person appointments and being fully open throughout the course of the year based on public health metrics. 4 weeks ago, I guess it was, on April the 12th, we reopened our libraries for walk-in service. We expect to open meeting rooms and in-person programs by summer or late summer or fall. I would like to invite everyone in our community and certainly in this audience to visit your libraries. We welcome you with open arms. Among many innovations over the past year, the one that we believe will have the greatest impact on the future of all Anne Arundel County residents is the elimination of overdue fines. Last week, during your work session, I spoke to you about our supplemental budget requests. We appreciate that the county executive has proposed funding several of our requests, including one of 4 positions that we are asking for. These 4 positions may be our most important requests to ensure the long-term health and stability of our operations. 2 of those 4 positions will ensure digital success: the Media and Technology Assistant, which is in the county executive's proposed budget, and the Social Media Manager position that we've asked for in past years. Based on the current level of activities and behind the scenes operations and the vast amount of materials coming in and moving through our delivery service, the 3rd position we need is a full-time materials receiving clerk. And finally, we are more and more focused on data-driven decision-making and need a business intelligence analyst, another position we've requested for a few years. So why is this so important to us? We need someone to analyze data and to develop clarifying and insightful representations of data so that we can implement effective and cost-efficient strategies to advance services and meet the needs of everyone, especially those most in need. Turning to our capital budget, we are thrilled to see funding in the county executive's CIP proposal for both Glen Burnie and Millersville libraries. These projects will complete our current facilities master plan and the first phase of renaissance of our library system. We also expect to expand our mobile outreach program with a vehicle that is part of the funding proposal of the Maryland Live Local Development Council. We appreciate your valuable support as we take this journey together. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ald, and we all know books can take us anywhere that we could imagine. So Thank you again to all of our presenters. We will now open the public hearing on the proposed FY22 budget. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
Yes, Madam Chair. In addition to the group of people that registered to speak this evening, we received 3 letters that are all different testimony on the budget that were received by the council. They've been added to the record as well.
Thank you. We have 12 individuals signed up to speak on the proposed FY22 budget. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. When it is your turn, please unmute yourself and begin by stating your name and address for the record. First, we have Liam McNally.
Madam Chair, I don't see that our first 2 registered speakers have joined the meeting yet. If you wanted to start with number 3, we could circle back to 1 and 2 at the end.
Okay. Next, we have Rich Ciruolo. I apologize for butchering your name. Madam Secretary, he was there, but now he seems to be gone. Oh, there he is.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. My Zoom suddenly crashed on me. My apologies. Thanks, everyone. Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair. My name is Rich Ciruolo, 3 Carville Road, Annapolis, Maryland. I'm hoping to advocate on our 1,300 plus members of Parent Advocacy Consortium to have several positions reinstated into the budget that was proposed by the Board of Education to Mr. Pittman's office. The ratios in many of the schools across our school system are unsustainable. We have the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, which this is really our first foray into meeting our obligations to our students, especially those with disabilities and Black and Brown students as well. Having students with a ratio of school counselor to student of 500 to 1, for instance, at Davidsonville, Four Seasons, Ridgeway, and Watchapel, the ratios are 600 to 1 counselor. In an age where we're coming back from a pandemic, these kids have not been in school buildings in over a year. They're going to need that support, and the community at large is going to need that support, as well as the teachers. We're going to need as many mental health professionals as possible to support everyone going back into school buildings and getting back to normal once the school buildings are open and everyone's vaccinated. So I don't want to hit you with a lot more stats. I just wanted to make that case, and I hope that you will reinstate the positions that were removed. I believe 7 school psychologists, 7 school counselors, and 3 social workers are just a drop in the bucket. We've got a long way to go. We've got 10 years of implementing this a new reform in education and making our school system one for the nation and the world to really emulate. So thank you all for your time, and I'll yield back the rest of my time tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Ciruolo. You were actually precisely on time, so thank you. Madam Secretary, should we go to number 4?
Yes, Madam Chair. Also, I'm not certain what happened. Zoom decided to bring Mr. Ciruolo on screen, but we will be proceeding by hearing from people in voice only after this.
No problem. Okay. Well, next on our list is Miss Mina Kim. But Madam Secretary, she also appears not to be here. Okay. Then next is Mr. Michael Vasquez.
Good evening. Can y'all hear me?
Good evening. We can. Just state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Michael Vasquez. I am a parent of an elementary school elementary school student at Jacobsville Elementary in District 3 in the Chesapeake cluster. I'm also on the PTA there, but I'm speaking on my own behalf as a parent today. Several, if not all, county council members have talked over over the past year about the need for the mental health concerns for our students and teachers and staff. Yet the budget proposed by the AACPS school board wanted to address all those by adding more professional counselors, mental health experts, and increased faculty to deal with class sizes. These same people that you claim to care for and support for the past year are now being left behind as a result of the budget cuts that you are proposing. Student and teacher ratio is a main factor in students' mental health and their feeling of safety in the classroom. Research shows, I'm not going to list a lot of details about research. Research shows clearly that students in smaller class sizes feel safer, more comfortable, and mentally secure, as well as getting more needed attention from the teachers whenever they have difficulty in a class. So the budget proposed by ACPS Board of Education focused on helping improve classroom performance and student and faculty mental health by hiring more teachers to fill a current lack of positions. I think it's 120 positions that are currently open that need to be filled to have safe and secure student-teacher ratios. They did not ask for 120 positions, but they did ask for a good number, and many of those were cut by the budget, by the County Commission. So my request is that you literally put your money where your mouth has been for the past year and provide the resources to pay for these mental health experts, counselors, and the teachers to help reduce the student-teacher ratios in the classroom and support our students and teachers with their mental health concerns and needs, as you've been saying for a very long time now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you. That's all I need.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Michael Lofton.
Unmute. There I am.
Good
evening to all of you. I'm Mike Lofton. I'm a 56-year, I did the math today. I'm a 56-year resident of Anne Arundel County, hoping for many more. I live on Polling House Road in Harwood. I'm confident that you know about the record-setting public demand for outdoor recreation in 2020. There's every reason to believe it will continue. The inadequacy of our park system is most apparent in the public waterfront parks. We have failed to accommodate a public desperate for relief from summer heat, desperate for a safe place for family recreation, and desperate for the soul-satisfying effects of the wonderful Chesapeake Bay. The inadequacy is not new. We've been failing for a long time. And this year is probably going to be the worst. We have 2 full-service county beaches, and one of them, Fort Smallwood, closes next week for the entire summer. The other, Mayo Beach Park, is not open on weekdays. Here we sit with a fully serviceable beach, and we don't open it in a time when people are desperate for outdoor recreation, when we've closed one of the 2 beaches. Please give the Department of Recreation and Parks the resources to open that park and a mandate to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lofton. Next, I apologize in advance. I am going to mispronounce your name. Nandi Nzilbi. Please tell me how to pronounce your name. Mr. Nzilbi. Madam Secretary, I see that Mr. Nzilbi is with us, but is still muted.
Yes, Madam Chair, I am pushing through prompts to unmute here. I think maybe we can give him another chance, and then maybe we can circle back at the end again. I'm not getting a response here.
I think that's fine. Okay, well then we will go to Robert. I'm going to mispronounce your name too. I'm so sorry. Robert Stroyakovic.
Stroyakovic.
Stoyakovich, good evening, sir.
Thank you. Again, my name is Robert Stoyakovic. I'm of 1177 Idlewild Road in Annapolis, Maryland. I'm a father, excuse me, of a 7th grade student and cellist at McAfee River Middle School. And I'm also his band and orchestra director. And I'm speaking on my own behalf. I would like to thank the Honorable Chairman Lacey and Vice Chairman Rodvian and the entire County Council members for the opportunity to speak this evening. I've been a music teacher in Anne Arundel County now for 35 years. I've had the pleasure to work with students from Southern Senior, Southern Middle, Edgewater Elementary School, South River. Actually, those were all at the same time. Bates Middle School, Chesapeake Senior, and currently McAfee River Middle School. This morning, in fact, I rehearsed in person outside our school grounds with 35 members of our A-Day cohort and an additional 40 students online virtually with a simulcast rehearsal. It was 55 degrees and windy, yet these students persevered. Why? Because in 2019, before the pandemic, we were only one of 3 middle schools statewide to perform grade 4 literature and receive a superior rating. I would like you to please consider Dr. Arlado's budget request. In fact, I would like you to consider exceeding it in the area where we come to reducing the student to teacher ratio. In my 35 years, I've seen class sizes continue to elevate from 22 to 24 students in the 1980s to currently 32 to 34 plus students. This year has been like no other year in my 35 years as an educator. Next year, as students return to the classrooms, we will ultimately encounter a varying degree of student readiness like we've never seen. Let's be clear. We will be at a critical point due to an extremely challenging circumstance of a once-in-a-lifetime event through no fault of any of the stakeholders in education or government. However, it will be our responsibility to move forward. This means we can no longer ignore the overcrowded classrooms and the lack of financial support to fund fully functioning middle school programs. This includes the ability for students to have access to complete offerings of the Encore program. Now, I know what you might be saying. Stroyakovic, weren't you the one that fought tooth and nail to get the AB Day versus the will? And yes, that's true. But before the pandemic, I would not go back to the will. And after the pandemic, I would not go to the will either, because you can't trade mastery of any subject that comes with the AB Day.
Mr. Stoyakovic, I'm
yes.
sorry to interrupt, but your time has expired.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you for this time.
Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you.
Next, we have Jan Delf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair Rodvian, Councilwoman Pickard, and my own Council Representative Pruski, and members of the County Council. My name is Jan Delf. I am a special educator at Severna Park Middle and a member of the Teachers Association of Anne Arundel County, or TAC. And so I'm here speaking tonight as a special educator. I'd like to certainly extend a very grateful thank you to County Executive Pittman and his team for the efforts to provide educators and support personnel with what is needed as we move forward. So a very quick, obviously brief story. So one of the little boys on my caseload, I shouldn't say little, they're taller than I am. I think virtually I still haven't even met them, but I know they're all taller. So this little boy is on vacation and he is on the beach and he's literally on his computer working with me. And it was amazing. I still get chills just thinking about that. So the rest of that story is with that particular young person, the hours are long for him and for me, but it's a double commitment. We're in it together. But when my head hits the pillow, that's when the inequities come into my mind. Not necessarily for me, but for so many of my colleagues. The fact that there are wage differences and I don't want to get into the reasoning and all that, but we do our job because we love it. They're like family, they love us. And so it's so much harder when the compensation isn't there. So we're thankful to the Board of Education. We're thankful for Executive Pittman. We're thankful for the County Council. And we urge the County Council to encourage the Board of Ed to give us the flexibility to do our 1% COLA with the $5 million and help make other teachers whole, help them be on the same experience step along
Ms.
with
Delf,
their,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
sorry.
your time has expired.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
All right.
Next, we have Jason Schweer.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
Good evening.
Thank you. So my name is Jason Schweer. I'm a member of the Odenton Town Center Advisory Committee in Odenton and Town Center Commons Community, also in Odenton. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you, and I'm here representing the Advisory Committee. On behalf of the committee, I'm here today in strong support of the Odenton Library Community Park. We are excited about this project as it brings sorely needed recreation space and public amenities desired by residents of the Odenton community and surrounding area to include Fort Meade. The Odenton Town Center has difficulty attracting the type of mixed-use development desired by the vision of the County Council and the Odenton Town Center Master Plan. The committee frequently hears from community members that the area is lacking in recreation spaces and other public amenities. If the town center is to become the livable, walkable, workable community we envision, it needs to have amenities to attract and sustain both businesses and families. To this end, the committee received feedback in support of the park from over 172 residents and 11 organizations representing thousands of people within the Odenton area. To build a sense of community, the Odenton Town Center needs a central location to gather for events. This is a common feature for a town center, but is missing in Odenton. Our town center is designed to be the heart of Odenton, with 2 arterial roads having near constant traffic. While new construction includes sidewalks to connect the town center to the surrounding areas, there are limited places residents can go to escape walking beside a busy road. The children within the town center play in the largest open space they have, the MARC train parking lot. So having a place for children to run, play, and just be children is critical to happy homes and happy living in Odenton. Our community is very excited about the Odenton Community Park, and we look forward to the park coming to fruition. Thank you for your consideration of the proposal for the inclusion of funding in fiscal year 2022 to initiate the Odenton Library Community Park project for the betterment of our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining us. Next, we have Bishop Antonio Palmer.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening, sir.
All right, good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair Lacey, and also Madam Vice Chair Robbian. And I definitely got to give a big shout out to my councilman, Andrew Pruski. And thank you to the entire County Council for affording me the opportunity to testify tonight at the public hearing. Since I have 2 minutes, I'm going to try my best to talk quickly. I'm here representing Kingdom Care Incorporated's project, the West County Family Support Center. Under the leadership of Senator Pam Vital and Delegate Sandy Bartlett, Kingdom Care has been awarded a legislative bond bill to open the West County Family Support Center. We have all of the collaborative partnerships and funding, with the exception of $75,000 for 2 teachers. There are currently over 135 teen mothers in Anne Arundel County, and only 6 to 8 of them are attending an alternative program in partnership with the county's public school and Department of Social Service. Kingdom Care is asking that you will incorporate in the budget an allocation of $75,000 so that we can hire 2 teachers to serve up to 15 teen mothers so that they can obtain their high school diploma and not a GED. This is a very important program that fills an equity issue and gap in service. This program will afford teen mothers to not only an opportunity to obtain their high school diploma, but to also have childcare while they are learning, and also wraparound services such as workforce development, mentoring, and career planning. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Bishop Palmer, and God bless you too. Thank you for joining us. Next, we have John Mayo.
Good evening. Thank you for this time. My name is
Please state
Jack
your name
Mayo.
and address for the record.
My name is Jack Mayo, 3685 First Avenue in Edgewater, Maryland. Are new down here, only been here 78 years, and have seen 5 generations of my family come through this house. I'm here tonight to to ask for funding for Long Point, which is a peninsula separating the South River from Selby Bay. The situation is critical. I'm not asking for money for $15 pavers at Mayo Park. I'm not asking for new books. I'm not asking for new roads. I'm asking for corrections to situations that the county has, well, for lack of a better word, has screwed up on. They hired a company called Patriot Environmental to spray the point for Aphrodite grasses and killed the grasses and killed the root system. And now the Long Point is eroding away to nothing. What that means for the Selby residents is we get the wash from the boats coming and the tidal waves coming up and down the South River. Most of the people in Selby Bay on the waterfront are at ground level. The houses in the South River are up high, so they don't get that. Most of the houses in Selby Bay do not have bulkheads. Why? Because the county won't give us bulkheads. So we don't get bulkheads, and we don't get any relief from the erosion of Long Point. We need to get Long Point reestablished. We have taken James Kitchen and Eric Mickelson out in our boats and showed them the erosion of Long Point and the destruction that it's having on the residents of Selby on the Bay. And they agree that something has to be done. So as I say, I'm asking for funding to correct the situation which the county mandated by killing the Aphrodite grasses and by ruining the root system and eroding the Long Point. We need help, and I appreciate your time and efforts to hear me, and I hope that we definitely need funding so we don't get washed away here in Selby on the Bay. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayo. Have a good evening.
Yep.
Madam Secretary, I think we have heard from everyone who's actually here. Of the 3 people who signed up, I don't see them in our list that we skipped before.
Yes, I agree with you, Madam Chair. I'm afraid that we have not had the individuals who registered to speak join the meeting, so they're not in our waiting room for me to bring forward.
Okay. Then at this time, the public hearing on the proposed FY22 budget is now closed. This first public hearing. Is there any other business to be brought before the County Council at this time? Hearing and seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Councilman.
And a second?
Second, Allison Pickard.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. The County Council is adjourned until 1 p.m. on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 for departmental budget presentations. Please continue to check the county website for important information and updates. Have a good evening.